What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of GRID Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, joined as always by Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
Hey, Ben. Another Motor Monday, nothing in the cup, and glad to have everyone here on GRID Encore. And I guess flannel, is it a flannel day?
Yeah, we didn't plan this, but I've got my senior cross-country track flannel on here.
It's Indigenous Peoples Day and Thanksgiving in Canada, I think. So
Yes. Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day. I know some people probably had work off for that today. It's just been that kind of day, hasn't it? I apologize. I forgot to turn the loop off. So we had the music start.
We're vibing. We're good.
Yeah, all good here. Maybe that's what it is. It's a holiday for everybody. I think a lot of people that are at work feel like they should have a day off. I'm up here in New England. It's getting dark earlier again. We've got a nor'easter coming through, so it's been raining all day. So I've had a bit of a gloomy afternoon here. So if I seem a little bit down on energy, I apologize, but hopefully I've got a valid excuse through the combination of all those things here. Good to see Joe in the chat here. Happy Motor Monday and Flannel Monday.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Happy Monday.
I guess so. Happy new graphics. I just noticed these our graphics are
very nice.
Different here. I don't know if that was a StreamYard upgrade for us, but or if that's a slightly different setting that we've got here. I did notice that the screen was dark when I logged in. I had to bring the blue background back up, so we'll see. Maybe we'll revert back, or maybe we'll keep it like it is here. But at least we will for tonight. But in the meantime, before we get into the show here this evening, as always, I want to thank our Patreon investors who help keep this show going. Colin Deschelle, Mark Robin, David Matthew, and our newest supporter on Patreon, Crystal. Thank you so much for your continued support of what we do here at the GRID Network. And if you like what you see this evening, you want to consider joining them in helping the GRID Network continue to build their platform throughout the rest of 2025 and into 2026, even though the Encore show will look a little bit different next year. You can follow the link in the description box below to join these 7 individuals on our Patreon page, or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution to us instead, you can tip us on YouTube through Super Chat or Super Thanks, or visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below as well. Any amount helps us continue to grow this motorsports media outlet. Now, let's see. Do we have another comment here? Thank you, Matthew Owens, for tuning in as well. Canadian Thanksgiving. A lot of hockey to keep up with today while at work. You know, I thought the NHL season was starting a little bit early, and then I remembered it's an Olympic year. And they didn't go in 2018 because they decided, I think they were trying to return back to amateurs or whatever. The NHL didn't send their players, and then they were going to send their players in 2022, but then the Omicron variant hit, and so many games got postponed because of the pandemic that they had to take the would-be Olympic break to make all those up. So I think this is going to be the first time since 2014 that they're sending their players over to the Winter Olympics, and I guess that might be why the season's starting a little bit earlier than I feel like it usually does. But Matthew, you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong. He's much more of a hockey aficionado than I am. But big time in sports right now. You got the MLB playoffs, NFL season's fully in swing. And if you're like Philadelphia, you're losing at absolutely everything right now. So at least you're not us.
In other news.
I don't know, Brad. I don't know if you have any thoughts on I guess your team is the Titans, probably, right? Over in Tennessee.
In other news, Brian Callahan, the head coach, was fired this morning, and it's just a dumpster fire all the way through.
Going great for all of us here at the GRID Network with our regional teams there. Although Kobe's Carolina Panthers did beat the Dallas Cowboys, so we appreciate that in Philadelphia this weekend. So
might be leaning towards Carolina there with you, Kobe, this season. There's not much left here in the Volunteer State. As far as pro football.
Yeah. All right. Well, enough of the stick and ball sports chatter here. Even though there's a stick and ball sports playoff format or stick and ball sports style analogy being used for this playoff format in the sport nowadays, let's get into the sport that you all came here for, and that's NASCAR, specifically the Xfinity Series. Up to we have one more comment here. We'll show this from Joe. Oregon State isn't much better. Oregon lost. Deserved it for smack talking IndyCar. Yeah. Did you see that, Brandon? The Walmart F1 sign that the Duck was holding up?
No, I did not. Yeah, but I did see in Oregon someone had a Fire Callahan poster at College Game Day.
Yeah, that was what the Oregon Duck was holding up a sign that because I guess Oregon was playing Indiana, and they said
Yeah.
Indy 500 is just a
Oh,
Walmart.
yeah, I did see
F1.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yep, and then came
Yeah.
back to bite them there. But let's get into the Xfinity Series race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Again, I know I frequently say this, but it's probably going to be a little bit of a shorter show tonight. We only have 2 races to cover, and then we might get into a little bit of a cup discussion here as well. Big deal with Denny Hamlin winning his 60th, and some talk over whether he might be the last one to win 60. I know Kyle Petty was bringing that up after he won his 59th. But we'll get into that a little bit later. In the meantime, Aric Almirola, man, he's doing it again. He is making the Owners' Championship relevant, and I want to publicly thank him for that because I have always maintained that I think the Owners' Championship is very relevant, and we should talk about it about as much as Formula One fans talk about the Constructors' Championship, because that championship is very real, and it matters for these teams and for the payouts at the end of the year. And I think Joe Gibbs Racing has the guy behind the wheel that they want for the second year in a row now, putting their entry in the championship on the owner side of things. Now, we did get word this week, I believe, that Phoenix was originally going to be a Justin Bonsignor race. Again, Bonsignor's been getting some Xfinity opportunities with Gibbs this year. But now that the 19 is in the Owners' Championship 4, Gibbs has confirmed that it will, in fact, be Almirola returning to the track where he won at in the spring. Little bit of controversy how he did that. Brandon, you and I remember that well with Tanner coming onto the show here in the spring. But Almirola proving that he was not afraid to do whatever it took to win that race in the spring. And got to think he's going to have similar feelings with an Owners' Championship on the line in a few weeks' time in Phoenix. So first of all, Brandon, is this the right call to take Bonsignor out, put Almirola in, have him finish the season and compete for this owner's title? And do you think he can potentially steal it from the number 88 team driven by Connor Zilisch?
Yeah, as much as, first off, for Justin Bonsignor, as much as you'd like to see the wheel and modified guy get the seat there for the remainder of the races, it does make sense. And I know how much you harp up the Constructors' Championship or the Owners' Championship here in NASCAR, and it's shown me how important it is, and for Coach Joe Gibbs to potentially get that. But Aric Almirola, he was very controversial there with his Phoenix victory earlier in the year, and this can be a place where he could go right back and take that away from one of the championship in the Xfinity Series on the driver's side. I also think he took the win at Las Vegas with some controversial side drafting. That was a little more than a little tap. He very well could have put Zilisch up in the wall, I think, if he put a little more pressure on there, and probably didn't mind which way it turned out. Thankfully, Connor Zilisch was able to hold his own and keep all 4 wheels headed straight. But the 4C, he turning right, it was a little feisty there. And it could have easily, in my opinion, turned out a much different way. But still another win for Aric Almirola post-Cup career in full time, and still showing us that he's got what it takes with top equipment. Yeah, it's the right call for the Owners' Championship for sure. But you hate to see Bonsignor miss things that were scheduled for him for the remainder of 2025 as well.
I know that it hasn't been the season that Justin would have wanted. He is still firmly in the modified championship fight. I believe he's second in points with 1 race to go, so maybe a little bit of a long shot. I think Austin Beers is the one that's leading the championship right now, if I remember correctly. But obviously we all know what he can do over in that series. It's been, and I think he could do some similar things still in trucks or Xfinity, if given the right equipment and right opportunity. And I think he's had that with Gibbs. It's just unfortunate that he hasn't gotten the results that we perhaps would have expected out of somebody like him. But I hope that he can come back next year and continue to do a few races. But obviously I think when you look at the situation here and how Aric's been running in that car this year in particular, and the fact that he's a veteran, he's got a lot more experience. Not to say that Justin Bonsignor isn't a very experienced racing driver in NASCAR competition, but it is very different what he has done compared to what Almirola has done for the last couple of decades now, when you think about it. And for him to be in this car and in this position once again, I will tell you, I feel the same way. And I know Matthew Owens brought up these comments about how Connor Zilisch has done this year, and even in defeat, this Saturday night here, you can tell he's driving the wheels off that thing. And I have to say I agree with him. I don't expect him to light the world on fire to this extent in Cup next year, but I would not put winning a couple of races past him, particularly on road courses, as unbeatable as SVG has been. Connor has taken the fight to him in the Xfinity Series this year, and I wouldn't put it past him to do so in Cup in 2026. But at the same time, we are going to a track where Almirola won it just earlier this year. It is possible that, maybe it doesn't get as much press or attention because Zilisch will still win the drivers. But if this result happens in a few weeks' time at Phoenix, you will see a split championship there. And again, as well as Aric has done in his limited starts this year, as well as Joe Gibbs Racing has done with that team, it does leave you wondering, should they really be the ones lifting the championship trophy at the end of the year after the season that Zilisch has had? And I think, people might forget this. We're up to 18 straight top fives now for Zilisch. The one race that he wasn't in the car after he got injured at Talladega, and that's a big return coming up for him this weekend, by the way. So we'll see how he handles this race here. But Kyle Larson got in that car and won off at Texas and drove that to a win as well. Doesn't count for playoff points or owners playoff ranking or anything like that, because it was a Cup driver racing in the lower division, so you don't get the benefits that you would if an Xfinity driver was in that car, or that Gibbs would get with Almirola in that car. He's running for points part-time, obviously not for the driver's championship, but it all counts for the owners, obviously, when he's in the car. Not the case with Kyle Larson, but it does, you can say, extend that streak up to 19 straight top fives for that number 88 team this year, and it's been thoroughly impressive. And obviously Zilisch has had the predominant part in making that happen, although you have to give a shout out to Parker Kligerman as well for finishing the job at Daytona. So it would be very fitting as well if the 88 team won the owners championship this year, because it has been a team effort when in the instances where Connor's had some injuries that he's had to deal with this year. The team has continued to step it up in his absence, and I think we saw it once again here this weekend. And I think Connor has said this on occasion before. He has to remind himself that the fact that he can be disappointed with second or with third or with fifth or with a top five that isn't a win is indicative of the bar that they have set for themselves this year, and it's an incredibly high one.
Yeah, and the contract for Cup was announced relatively so early, like so long ago, it seems like now, that we've already had that in the back of our mind. And yeah, stupid good is the correct adjective there, Matthew. Very good. 18 straight top fives. It doesn't even sound real. It does not. It sounds like a made-up stat, but it's all too true for the 88 this year in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, and we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, we've got the we've not got it mathematically clinched yet. It can very well be mathematically clinched after Talladega, although again, based on what happened there in the spring, you just never know. But you would imagine it would take a perfect storm of events for Zilisch to not make the championship four. We certainly hope that does not happen, because he at the very least deserves a chance to fight for a championship at Phoenix after the year that he has had. But second place, banking a lot of solid points for himself this weekend, as did his teammate Justin Allgaier in third. Want to talk a little bit briefly, though, about the driver in 19th, Matt DiBenedetto. We just got word earlier this morning. He is out of the Viking Motorsports number 99 car. It's going to be Connor Mozak filling in for him in the last three races. Not the first time that DiBenedetto has lost his ride this late in the year. You may recall he actually made the Truck Series playoffs a couple of years ago with the Rackley War team, number 25, and didn't finish the season out with that team after they were eliminated, I believe, in the opening round of 10. So, Brandon, just real quick before we move on here, what's your reaction to this news? Unfortunate situation for Matt DiBenedetto once again. Yeah,
that style of test tubing a new driver for the next season is pretty cutthroat, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing. I guess it's one thing from the Rackley situation where you missed your shot in the playoffs. You made the playoffs, but you miss it, and then you get taken out by a different driver. You get cut early, but I guess it's a little less so then. I guess if you look at the Viking Motorsports situation, you've had an entire season to prove your worth, and just it wasn't adding up, and so they want to go ahead and not waste the last races here of the season and figure out what else is going to work. And so that's why Connor Mozak is coming in and just giving, since you can't really do testing, this is kind of your way to get that sort of thing done. So, outside of the sim, of course, you got to try what you can. So I guess this is the move there. Connor Mozak going to be in for the rest of the season, and Matt DiBenedetto once again on the free agency role, and who knows where that's going to end up. It's been a very interesting 8 to 10 years of a career, hasn't it?
Yeah, you can definitely say that. Where has he been? Obviously, the stops at well, he started with Gibbs and then kind of came back into that family with the Levine deal in that affiliate after making a career out of starting parking almost for a little while, and then got the break with the Wood brothers, and that ultimately didn't work out. And then he's kind of been bouncing back and forth in the lower series ever since then. He did get that win at Talladega. A little bit controversial how that happened with one of the final lap calls was when the caution comes out or whatever that we see so often at super speedway races. I think Brett Holmes, I think, still has that banner hung in his shop. He will tell you to this day, but he won that race, and he's going to be back in the truck race this weekend, by the way, as well. So great to see him back there also. But aside from that, obviously I have a disappointment with how the Rackley situation turned out, and now this was with Viking. So an unfortunate deal, but we'll see if he's able to land a spot in any one of NASCAR's top 3 series next year for 26.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. We move on now to the Bullring, also at Las Vegas, on the Las Vegas Motor Speedway properties here. And I want to say congratulations to Trevor Huddleston winning once again, absolutely having a career year in the ARCA Menards Series West. Really great to see him bounce back. I know that it was a struggle for him with how things ended over at Sunrise Ford. And you may recall the epic 2021 season finale where 7 drivers were mathematically eligible going into the championship race. And Jake Drew crossed the finish line thinking that he had won the title. Jesse Love passed Trevor Huddleston, who was Drew's teammate at the time at Sunrise Ford on the last lap. Huddleston, I think, saw the checkered flag coming by for the race winner. Ty Gibbs was about to get lapped off. The checkered flag was for him, and lifted off the gas, and that allowed Jesse Love to pick up the 1 point that he needed to steal the championship away from Sunrise Ford Racing and Jake Drew. And that was the end of Huddleston's time at that team. And then he went back to High Point Racing, his family team. He ran part-time, partial schedule in 2022, has been full-time ever since. And like I said, having a career year this year, I believe the only non-top 5 that he has, if I recall correctly, was the combination race at Phoenix earlier this year. So we expect a big entry list coming into the finale at Phoenix in a few weeks' time here. It's not a combo race. It is just an ARCA West standalone, but the ARCA National season is over, so you frequently see a lot of teams from a national tour and even the East Tour sometimes make the trip over, since it is a big deal. It's a companion week of championship weekend, obviously. So we expect a pretty full field. But that being said, Huddleston doesn't need to finish in the top 5 to clinch the championship for the final race here. He's got a 34-point lead now, and that all but will clinch the championship for him. Like we said, we got to wait for the entry list to come out to see if the car count is even going to be big enough for him to have to worry about where he finishes here in the final race. It's likely looking like he's just going to have to take the green flag, much like Butterbean did in the national tour, and that'll clinch the championship for him. But thoroughly deserved, well-deserved for Trevor Huddleston, picking up yet another win here in the ARCA Menards Series West of the Bullring. Also want to give a shout-out and say thank you to the Venturini Motorsports team. This was their final race before the sale officially has gone through now. It is official. And when we see Thomas Annunziata at Phoenix, it will be a Nitro Motorsports entry. As I mentioned on the Women in Motorsports show this weekend, Billy Venturini will be hanging around the Nitro shop for the next couple of years, staying on. I think it's some sort of kind of advisory role. Again, just making sure the transition is as smooth as possible. So we won't see them completely gone for at least the next couple of years. But in terms of Venturini Motorsports team, it has 43 years worth of history in this series. Brandon, I don't know about you, but it's going to be very weird for me next year watching these ARCA races and not seeing any of Big Bill's cars out there on track. It's become such a staple of this series for the last 4 decades. Yeah,
it's as if like Hendrick Motorsports just vanish at the close of the year. It's, like it's the household name, the one that, if someone thinks of one team from the ARCA Menards series, that would be it, and it's just going to be acquired. So end of an era, and just looking back at all the memories, that's all you can do.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, Nunziata finishing fourth, the highest finisher in their final race. Also Taylor Reimer and Jade Avedissian. And like I said, the reason we talk about this on Women in Motorsports is because, there have been so many young, talented female drivers that have come through that program and come through Toyota's program over the last several years. And really have to credit the Venturini family for giving them those opportunities. Of course, Isabella Robusto was full-time in the National Tour this year. So we'll see if any of them can pick up rides next year with the new Nitro team, whatever that looks like, or throughout Toyota's program in 2026. But in the meantime, just again, want to highlight that team, over 100 race wins in ARCA competition. And just want to say thanks again for all the great memories that they've provided for us in this series over the last several years. And speaking of looking weird as well, one name you don't see on this list, even though it was a pretty good field size and car count this week, that would be Jake Bowman and the Bill McAnally Racing Team. This is the first race in I don't even know how long. It's got to be, it feels like it's got to be a couple of decades that one of their Napa cars was not out on track. McAnally putting out a statement this week that they are fully focused on competing for a Truck Series championship with their entries over there at McAnally Hilgeman Racing and the Truck Series program. They are not closing up the West Series shop. They intend to be back in 2026. But again, when they are to the West Series as Venturini was to ARCA in many respects. They have also won 100 races and were stapled what was the NASCAR K&M Pro Series West when I started following it in the 2010s, and even tracing your history further back from there to the Winston West days. Bill McAnally has been a staple of that series, and very happy for him that this new truck partnership with Hilgeman has taken off and may result in a championship as well this year. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. Obviously, Corey Heim has been the Connor Zilisch of that series. We expect him to be the overwhelming favorite, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens here over these next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, certainly looking forward to seeing that Napa car back out in the West Series, because, like I said, it is a staple of that series, and felt pretty weird not seeing that out there this weekend. But thankfully, that's only a temporary pause for them. They'll be back next year. At least that's the plan for now. All right, well, that's going to do it here for the races that we normally recap here. But like I said, I frequently say it's going to be a shorter show, and then we get into the discussion. But I don't want to just wrap it up here at only 22 minutes and 40 seconds and change here. But Brandon, I guess we can talk a little bit about the Cup Series race. Pretty big deal with Denny Hamlin winning his 60th, punching his ticket to the championship for. I believe this will be the 7th time that he's gone into the championship race with a potential shot at lifting that trophy, 5th time in the championship for era of the current NASCAR playoff elimination bracket era. What was your reaction to what was really a pretty emotional day for him? I know he's said in the past that 60 wins was kind of a goal that he had, even more so than a championship in many respects. But what was your reaction to what we saw yesterday at Vegas in the finish of that race?
Yeah, been in a 2025 season that's been kind of ho-hum in through the middle and trying to generate hype about the playoffs, and to not much avail. This was a pretty compelling story to have here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and for Denny Hamlin to get career win number 60, just a monumental win for the sport. And it's not just the number, it's also who it is that took the checkered flag, and what he's currently dealing with the sanctioning body. And you factor all that in, and doing it for his dad, Dennis, and of course his health condition not the best at this time, and just the emotions just written on Denny's face. I mean, how can it not be? But also just with a polarizing driver as he is, and he lives off that. Didn't really hear boos at Las Vegas for that victory. It was kind of understood, like, okay, that was impressive, and my one shining moment's gonna to give the key to all of it, because I don't want to give that away, but it has to do with that victory. But man, just impressive call there to put four fresh tires on the car, and you thought Chase Briscoe was going to run away with it after that restart, but like a rocket ship, here he was coming out of Area 51 and getting his career win number 60. headed back to Phoenix with his ticket punched. The question is, can he get that darn monkey off his back and get this championship? You said it. It's been numerous times that he's been in this position, starting back from 2006 of just what could have been. I'm just glad it doesn't end for him at Martinsville, right? I'm glad we've got through Tech, and we don't have to have another Denny Hamlin heartbreak at Martinsville where Logano yeets him out of the way. I'm glad at least they let the old man make it to Phoenix and let him, knock him out there. Don't knock him out at Talladega. Don't knock him out at Martinsville. It's just good to see. Whether you like him or not, this is a big point of the sport, and especially with the 2311 and NASCAR court case still out and about, and with his criticism of the sport, and with some rule changes coming next year, and potentially more changes to how we award champions next year after we announce this champion, all this sort of stuff that's been just talked about and up in the air, and got some more legitimacy behind it in recent weeks. It's all around just a fun story to follow here from Sunday.
Brandon, it is going to be messy, and actually, I'm wondering if Matthew's still in the chat here, because I know he and I were talking about this a little bit earlier this afternoon. But you mentioned it. There is a lawsuit going on right now between the team and Hamlin co-owns 2311 and Front Row Motorsports as well. And just catching up on my editor-in-chief over at LastCar.info, Brock Beard, and the streams that he's been doing recently. I think most people know Brock has a little bit of a law background. Didn't end up passing the bar and pursuing that as a full-time career, but he certainly knows more than most. And I will confess that I know hardly anything about the legalities and ins and outs of everything going on with that suit right now. I've been trying to keep up with the basics and everything, but I certainly trust Brock more than I trust just about anybody on this subject. And man, I don't know. I started out thinking I'm obviously going to root for the teams, the individuals affected by the sanctioning body rather than the big mega corporation itself. But the more this drags on, the more that we hear about what's coming out in court here. I'm not saying I wish this upon the teams. I don't wish for 2311 or Front Row to have to close their doors or anything. And I don't know what the ramifications of all this are going to be. But it is feeling, to me at least, like it's harder to see a pathway for the teams to come out on top of this lawsuit here. It sounds like they're trying to speed up wrapping things up here. And, I don't know what is going to come of that for the teams, but I do know that if Denny Hamlin does win this championship, it's going to be a pretty awkward ceremony and celebration.
Congratulations.
Yeah. With, I don't know if it would be O'Donnell, who's technically president now, or Phelps, who's the commissioner. Remember when we promoted Phelps to commissioner earlier this year? That feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? But yeah, that's
you have been promoted. We actually fired the guy that does that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting celebration for sure if that is in fact what happens. Obviously, a lot can still change. Joey Logano, and man, Logano almost did it again, didn't he? He was right up there at the end, and he's got 2 tracks that he's won it before coming up here. So
he's coming.
Yeah,
if you don't think he's a part of the championship 4, you're not thinking straight.
Well, I think
he's coming.
It is an odd year though, so who knows? But yeah, I mean, it is, and like I said, and I feel like, again, maybe this contributed to kind of the mood that I've been in all afternoon here. The season is a grind, man. It really is. And, we're coming up here on only 3 races left to go now. Man, it's been exhausting keeping up with, all the updates coming out from the lawsuit and everything going on behind the scenes. And again, I just hope that for the sake of the health of the sport, because that's really, I mean, again, I'm not really taking sides here in all this. I'm just an interested observer here, and as frustrated as I've been with a lot of directions that the sport has gone. And man, I got to tell you, I don't have a lot of hope for the ratings this week, because not only was the race on USA, but the finish was happening at the same time as, I believe, was it game 1 of the ALCS? There was a playoff baseball game going on.
Yeah, Mariners, Blue Jays. Yeah,
Mariners, Blue Jays, and Sunday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Lions, 2 teams that have known to be ratings juggernauts. They
I don't know, Jim. I don't think you're going to beat them. Not beating those ratings.
Yeah, well, not Tony Romo, Chris Collinsworth, I guess, because it's NBC, so we got to.
Here's a guy.
Yeah, there you go. That's the right impression for this one. But
Denny Hamlin, here's a guy.
Yeah, man. But all that to say, you factor in those two events, and the fact that it's on. I mean, of course, it's going to be on cable because you're going to run up against the start of Sunday Night Football. I'm very curious to see what the ratings are for this week. I have a feeling that they probably aren't going to be great.
No,
and that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the TV partners that have bought into this. We're only on year one of this 7-year deal. It's not good for the teams that are getting a share of that revenue or whatever the case may be. It's not good for the sport in general. And then to couple the declining ratings and attendance and everything with the negativity surrounding the championship format and the online discourse there, and then obviously everything going on behind the scenes and the business aspect of it with the lawsuit. We need some good things to happen in the sport starting next year. I think the end of this year, obviously the playoff format is what it is, and the lawsuit at this point is what it is as well, and we'll see how that plays out. Again, you can hope for ratings uptick here. I hope that we get that with the race being on NBC this week. And actually, I believe all 3 races are on network TV. Trucks, I believe, are on Fox, and then obviously Xfinity's on the CW, and then big NBC for NASCAR Cup. So big opportunity at the biggest and baddest oval that NASCAR goes to in Talladega Super Speedway for all 3 series this weekend. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. But
if you don't get the ratings for Talladega, it's not the track's fault.
Yeah, that's
just know that.
That's true as well.
Talladega brings it, so
it certainly will. And yeah, but like I said, we're coming to the end of a long journey here, and I hope that we can start to turn a corner a little bit, because again, and you all know this, when I criticize the sport, when I criticize things that I don't like happening in this sport, it's not because I hate it or anything. If I did hate it, I'd be taking a victory lap whenever I see something I don't like or something that
it's not happy
represents a low number here. It comes from a place of love, and I love this sport. I want to see the sport continue to grow and succeed into the future. And again, with the status quo right now, you don't do that by having a championship format that a large portion of the fan base does not like, and you also don't do that by having 2 of your teams, including one co-owned by one of the most famous people on the planet, and I don't think that's an exaggeration, in Michael Jordan. It's just not a good look. And so I hope that those issues can get resolved as we head into 2026 and beyond. All right. Well, that's going to do it here for us on our show tonight in our discussion portion of this episode. Brandon, you teased your one shining moment, I think, a few minutes ago, but you want to go ahead and tell us all what it is here?
Yeah, got to go atop the war wagon to Mr. Chris Gale, give him the one shining moment. Because, I mean, I wasn't there, but I have a feeling that was all him there on the 4-tire call. And if it wasn't for that, there was not really a chance there. A lot of those other teams decided to just take 2. But that's why they get the big bucks. Chris Gale gets the one shining moment for me. And you think at the end of last season, how Denny Hamlin was shocked that Chris Gabehart wasn't going to be returning with him in 2025. And that came on the heels of losing FedEx. And, it felt like the whole world was crashing around the 11 camp. Came to Bowman Gray Stadium at the beginning of 2025 without anything on the hauler. And then National Debt Relief came on. And then, Sport Clips always has his back. And then slowly but surely, everything started to work together, and here they are about to compete for a championship yet again and have a really good chance at it. But Chris Gale, I think, a big part of that here, changing it around in 2025, despite the whole world crashing around them, including the whole deal with the lawsuit.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. And I think, again, that will be an ultimate shining moment in Denny Hamlin's career if he can not necessarily cap it off, because I expect he's still got another at least 2 or 3 years left in him where he can compete in the Cup Series at a high level. But if after all these years he finally gets that elusive championship, I know he'll be a very happy man. I think he is already a very happy man getting 60 wins, because I still remember, I think it was actually on Danica Patrick's podcast of all people, he was saying that if you'd rather have 60 wins or a championship, he'd take the wins total over that. And again, maybe that also says quite a bit about the current state of a championship system that we use in the playoffs. But
it's hard to win a championship.
It's hard. Yeah. And Junior was saying this on his podcast as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. this week. It's not, I think he said it's not my favorite format, but damn sure is the hardest because you have to be on your game all throughout the playoffs. We just saw with Byron yesterday as well. He was dominating the race, and then something out of his control. Ty Dillon probably should have been further down the track as he was coming to pit road, and that was the end of his race. So you have to have the
ability to keep things that are completely out of your control from happening.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Welcome to NASCAR.
On the flip side, if you win a race in the round, and Byron still got two chances to do this as well, you don't have to worry about that anymore. The other two results become irrelevant. So that's the case for Denny Hamlin right here. And again, he's had some success at Phoenix before. It's not like he doesn't know how to get around that place. So we'll have to wait and see if he finally does result in a championship for him here in 2025. In the meantime, I'll give my shining moment here. I want to give a shout out to Ryan Sieg and that small family-owned team continuing to punch above their weight. I feel like they've had a little bit of a quieter year. Hasn't lit the world on fire necessarily like we've seen from him in the past with runner-up finishes and seemingly knocking on the door of his first win. This is his first top 10 in a while at the track where he almost got that first win last year with a second place finish. So good to see that team rebound a little bit with a seventh place finish this weekend for Ryan Sieg. That is my one shining moment for the evening. And that is our show for this evening. Thank you all so much for continuing to tune in to GRID Encore here as we wrap up 2025 and wrap this whole thing up with these final 5 shows here. Be sure to follow us at GRID Network TV on all our social media platforms, X/Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn. Most importantly, subscribe to us right here on YouTube and visit our website at gridnetworktv.com. Now, if you really liked what you saw tonight, you can take a few minutes after the show to consider joining our Patreon. Join Colin Deschelle, Mark, Robin, David, Matthew, and Crystal in investing in GRID Network to help expand our coverage throughout the rest of 2025 and into 2026. You can also become a YouTube member through the GRID Network channel right here on YouTube, or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead, you can tip us through Super Chat or Super Thanks, or follow the link to buy me a coffee, also in the description box below. Any amount helps us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. Now, looking at our upcoming schedule here, Wednesday, don't miss GRID Tonight with Kobe Lambeth and Joshua Birch and Matt White. I believe Josh is on this week. I think he said it's next week, but he's off. Kobe can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe the whole gang is going to be back this week, so you can stay tuned for that. And our new pre-race show format continuing this week at Talladega. Big weekend for NASCAR, obviously. New episode of Women in Motorsports dropped yesterday as well, recapping F1 Academy at Singapore. Congratulations again to Leah Block on picking up her maiden F1 Academy win. And then GRID Live wrap-up will follow this weekend, and then we will see you on, what is it now, 167-hour and 20-minute break for the Encore show next week. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Nothing other than thank you for being here, and headed down to Talladega once more for 2025, and anything can and will happen. Again, whole gang this week on GRID. Enjoy it, everyone.
There you go. Yes, so stay tuned for GRID Tonight on Wednesday. We're back at Talladega. You know who else is back? Frankie Muniz. Good to see him back as well. Apparently, he had gotten the all clear from his doctors, and he did have a top 10 finish at Daytona earlier this year. Might have forgotten that at this point. It's been several months, but that was the one, I think, silver lining for a lot of people with Parker Kligerman's disqualification. It moved Frankie up from 11th to 10th. So Agent Cody Banks in the top 10 in the Truck Series at Daytona. What a world that we live in. What a timeline we're living in. Could we see something similar happen this weekend at Talladega? You'll have to tune in on Big Fox and find out. For Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time right here on the GRID Network. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.